'Tis a fine morning in Castle Camelot. The sweet showers of April have pierced the drought of March, and pierced it to the root, and every vein is bathed in that moisture, whose quickening force will engender the flowers of the castle without. Joineth us inside, and partake of this game review, a favorite of mine from thy youth. Oh, come on in already, I'm lonely. Growing up in the 90s, there were only two things that I used to look forward to as a kid: cartoons and video games. In 1993, we were introduced to the Power Rangers, young kids with the ability to call upon special powers to fight the forces of evil. Within that same year, we were also introduced to another group of kids that could also call upon special powers to fight the forces of evil. In many ways, the cartoon equivalent of the Power Rangers. King Arthur and the Knights of Justice was a cartoon loosely based on the Arthurian legend. Instead of an actual King Arthur, the series had Arthur King and his college football team transported over to medieval England by Merlin the magician. Their mission was to find the 12 keys of truth, which would allow them to return to their world and stop Queen Morgana and Viper, who have the real King Arthur and his knights trapped in the Cave of Glass. Doesn't it seem weird that Merlin had the power to transport them to medieval times, but didn't have the power to transport them back? I was a huge fan of this series. I saw parallels between the series and Power Rangers, not just the plot, but also in the music, which makes sense because both shows had the same music producer, Shuki Levi. Sadly, the show was cancelled after only 2 seasons, so we never got a chance to see a proper ending for the show. But since then, it's been released on DVD. Now, I first became aware of this game 2 years ago. I was ecstatic. I looked forward to playing a game that was based off a franchise that I grew up enjoying as a kid. You could just imagine my dismay when I actually played it though. Well, let's get this over with. I'm glad they have the theme music from the series. It sounds pretty good for 16-bit, but that's about the only good thing I have to say about this game. So it starts off with Merlin appearing out of nowhere and giving Arthur the 411 on what the situation is. If you go to the door on the left, you'll walk into the round table with all the knights in the series present. You have to choose 2 of them in order to venture out. Otherwise, Merlin will stop you and tell you that the warlords are too strong for you to take on all by yourself. It's nice to see the knights in all 16-bit glory. So, since I have to choose 2, I guess I'll take... Wait, what? Huh? Wait a minute here. That's Wally? Hang on. Okay, so who's responsible for this blunder here? Wally's armor is clearly not the same color as it was in the series. This is unexcusable. So once you pick your teammates, you head out to the castle and you're instantly attacked by warlords. The graphics look terrible. I'm not sure how much better they look than, let's say, the Commodore 64? I mean, are you keeping up with the Commodore, or is the Commodore keeping up with you? There's a meter under your health bar that disappears whenever you take a swing. Think of it as a power meter. Many games have meters that work this way. So, I begin exploring around, which is what any gamer does when they play a game for the first time. I can't make heads or tails of the situation, so I open the menu and check out the map. So here's the map, and nothing's labeled. I don't know where anything is. I don't know what Arthur's shield is supposed to do. When I played this for the first time, it was so unappealing, so lackluster, so boring. I shut the game off. What a disservice to the franchise, I thought. So I randomly decide to venture towards the left. Eventually, I make it to the part of the game where the Lady of the Table appears and tells me that in order to receive the sword Excalibur, I have to kill a dragon in Shield Heights. First of all, where the heck is Shield Heights? It's not labeled anywhere on this map. And secondly, if I don't have Excalibur with me, then what kind of sword is that? I also have to point out that in the show, nobody ever saw the Lady of the Table except for Lancelot, yet here she is in plain view for Arthur and the 2 knights. I mean, I get it. It's a video game. It's not going to follow the show exactly, but some consistency wouldn't hurt, now would it? So after she leaves, I begin exploring the area that I'm in to look for items of any kind. I find this thing here which turns out to be an eye of newt, a newt being a small lizard. And call me crazy, but I'm willing to bet that a newt's eye is not that big. So I grab the eye, go back to the game, and the lady of the table appears again and tells me the exact same thing. It's only been a few seconds. Did the programmers of this game not know that gamers tend to explore areas they're in before they leave? So I'm forced to leave. I venture towards the right and see a weird looking entrance. I can't enter it. Fine. So I head up and I see some fire here, and Arthur says the fire is too dangerous to cross, so let's head back to Merlin. Merlin informs Arthur that he needs 4 items in order to make a fireproof potion to get through the fire. An Eye of Newt, which I already have, a monk shoot, whatever the heck that is, a hairball. Merlin needs a hairball in order to make a spell, huh? Okay, I'm not the magician here. And Nightshade. Is that from DC or Marvel? So, out of Camelot you go, on a wild goose chase to find the rest of the items. You're not told specifically where each item is located. So for some fluke of fate, I managed to find the monk shot, the hairball, and Nightshade, and I take it back to Merlin. He makes the potion, I go back to and go through the firewall, fight some more warlords, and make it to finally to Shield Heights. Here I finally reach the dragon, and while I'm running around like an idiot trying to figure out how to attack it, Lug and Breeze are just standing there admiring the view. They're actually in the way as well. I can't cross where they're standing. I'm hacking away at the dragon and I don't think I'm even making any damage. I've died twice already, and each time that you die, you reappear in Castle Camelot. So let's go to Merlin and see if he can figure out how to fight the dragon. According to Merlin, one of the knights has a shield somewhere in the forest. I can kill the dragon if I get the shield. He doesn't specify which part of the forest this shield is in. Also, all the knights seem to already have their shields in their hands, so it makes it weird to me that I have to go out into the forest and look for another one. So off I go on another wild goose chase. I kid you not, I have spent over 2 hours trying to locate this stupid shield and haven't found Buttkiss. And this is still the first part in this game. Screw this, man. I'm looking for an online guide. So as it turns out, the shield belongs to Breeze, and it's located near where you got the Nightshade. So you get the shield, go back to Shield Heights, Breeze volunteers to fight the dragon, and then now look. Damage! You have to shoot the scales on the dragon's stomach. You do this by walking left to right so the dragon moves its head around and exposes its stomach. Just look how much trouble I'm having to do this though. Somehow I pull it off, and the dragon is slain. I go back to the lady of the table, and she wants to play some puzzle game. After all that trouble, you'd think that she'd just hand over the sword, but no. I have to figure out which direction brings up the right blocks to get to the middle and claim the sword. Fortunately, Arthur doesn't take any damage if he falls in the water. So I get Excalibur, which doesn't look any different from the sword I had previously, but I really don't care at this point. From here on out, it's just solving puzzles, finding the shields and keys of each of the knights, fighting all of Morgana's warlords, Spike, Bash, Blinder, Hammer, Lucan, and Slasher, and for some reason there's no Blackwing. Can I ask why? Blackwing was Viper's right-hand man. I mean, I can excuse the fact that there's no Chang and the Purple Horde because they weren't really too relevant in the story. They came around after Season 2, but you have to have Blackwing. That doesn't make any sense not to have him. Oh, and guess what? The map that we talked about earlier in the game, it actually works like a warp zone. You place Arthur's shield over the map area. Wherever it shines, you're allowed to warp to that area. Okay, first of all, in no episode in the series did this ever happen. And second, how was I supposed to know that's how it worked? No indication is given in the game. Look at this area here. This is Welton Village. When you first enter it, the villagers are under some sort of spell and they refuse to help you and claim allegiance to Morgana. You have to convince the blacksmith you ran into earlier in the game to make warlord armor for you to get the necessary items from the villagers to change them back to normal. There are many points throughout the game where you have to warp to Welton Village. Now, where the heck is it on the map? I want to warp there, but I have no freaking clue where it's at. Is it here? No, it's some random part of the forest, and now I gotta walk around, avoiding enemies, to find the freaking village. Look, when it comes to games, there aren't a lot of them out there that I actually consider bad. There's a lot of games out there that are considered bad that I actually like. But this is horrible. Why was the franchise treated this way? King Arthur and the Knights of Justice is a good concept for a video game, actually. Man, I want to stop playing, but we're halfway there. The grind continues. Let me address other issues in this game that bother me. You have medical herbs to heal your allies. But look at how many herbs you have to use to completely heal your party. I had to use so many herbs just to get my guys at full health. Another thing, you can't exit from areas unless you kill all monsters or warlords first. The same thing goes for items. Look, I can't pick up that item because I have to kill all the fairies first. Why? That doesn't make any sense. And you can't even bring up the item screen to heal yourself while in battle, just like in the Air Guys RPG game. I take back what I said about not having anything good to say about this game. As a fan, I can appreciate the fact that 2 of the missions are parts from the cartoon. In one area, while you were away, Merlin informs you that Blackwing dropped a potion on Squire Everett and you have to go into the swamp and get the shavings from a Zug's horn in order to cure him. This is from episode 9 to save a Squire. In another part, you have to go to the tree of Brimlap the Giant, who was also in the series. In this area here, you grab Zeke's shield. If you go further down, you get attacked by warlords that have been made completely invincible due to a boulder, so you're not going to be able to kill them. Supposedly, I've heard rumors that if you grab the shield and the warlords appear, that the game crashes. It didn't happen to me, but unless you've already gotten the Moldering Crystal from the lady in Crownhorn Village, I suggest that you avoid them. So after whooping all the warlords, you finally make it all the way over to Viper, the general of the warlords and Morgana's second in command. Viper fights in 2 forms. The first as a snake, which isn't too difficult to defeat, then as a cross between himself and a snake. This battle is long and monotonous, but not too difficult. Viper has a predictable pattern in the way that he swings his swords. Once you take care of him, Trunk grabs his key, and you're ready to grab Arthur and Lancelot's keys and take down Morgana once and for all. Before you go to Morgana's castle, however, I recommend to visit Shield Heights to stock up on orbs to power up your shield attacks. Up until this point, this game has been tiresome, frustrating, annoying, but from here on out, it's going to get a little spooky. You've entered Dark Forest, the pathway that leads to Queen Morgana's castle. That evil and strong music that plays makes you feel the evil that resides within Queen Morgana's heart. You slash away at the animals that call the Dark Forest their home. You arrive at the entrance to a dungeon. In that dungeon you find the Ring of Truth, which will be of use to you much later. You also find Lancelot's key. As you continue through the Dark Forest, you find yourself in a graveyard with 12 tombstones with each of the names of the Knights of Justice. Morgana's ready to kill you guys. Head further up and you'll find another house which leads you to the underground area. Cross the bridge, enter the cave, kill all the red warlords, and you come across a statue of Morgana that kills 2 of your knights. Morgana boastfully mocks you. Shaken but not licked, Arthur exits the cave and returns to the graveyard to see 2 of his fellow knights buried in their eternal resting place. Or is it? Arthur exits the graveyard. He refuses to believe his two comrades are dead. In another graveyard, you'll find tombstones with the names of the programmers and some flowers. Grab only two, you'll find out why later. You continue on your path and eventually find the Town of the Dead. No, seriously, that's what it's called. In two specific houses, you find two Grim Reaper looking fellows that will make deals with you. Give them a flower each, the ones that you picked in the graveyard earlier, and you can go to the Plane of the Dead where Arthur's comrades are. They each give you items you're going to need to get there. There is a church in this town. You enter it, and you'll find the door that leads you to the Plane of the Dead. The two ghoulish looking guys are there as well. Give them a flower each, and they'll tell you where to go. You'll eventually find and resurrect your fallen comrades, exit the Plane of the Dead, enter a cavern that will take you to the entrance of Queen Morgana's throne room. Please make sure to heal up with herbs before you enter. Finally, the last battle is about to take place. The valiant and courageous knight Arthur King will face the evil Queen Morgana. She transforms into a huge dragon and is hard as heck. If you die here, you'll be sent back all the way to Camelot and have to go through this whole ordeal all over again. You kill her the same way you did the first dragon. Have her tilt her head around and shoot at her stomach. After a long and terrible battle, Morgana is dead. You recover the last of the keys of truth and free the real King Arthur and his knights from the Cave of Glass and walk out like a boss. This scene of Arthur's shaking hands is hilarious. The series wasn't given a proper ending, but here you can consider this as the proper ending to the series. After completing this game, I can unquestionably, unmistakably, undoubtedly, unequivocally say that this is one of the worst video games I have ever played. What a disservice to the franchise that I grew up loving as a kid. All I can do is quote King Arthur himself. I loved them, and they answered me with pain and torment. Well, there's only one thing I have to do before all this is over.
King Arthur, Knights of Justice, speak the oath.
I am King Arthur.
And we are the Knights of Justice. We pledge fairness to all, to protect the weak and vanquish the evil.